Fernando Torres, a player which for me is one of my footballing heroes growing up. He was, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, potentially my first ever man crush. Fernando Torres, for me, I remember when I was 10, 11 years old watching compilations on YouTube of him at Atletico Madrid, and when he joined Liverpool and his first debut goal against Chelsea, there was an aura around him which I found just fascinating. He was the perfect number 9, it looked like. He was fast, had a great jumping ability, he was ruthless, and he came up with big goals at big moments. To this day, his most important goal is not the one that people really think of, but the goals in the 2008 European Championship final. And Fernando Torres for me is someone which I feel like has a mixed opinion of certain people who you ask. And the issue is, with Fernando Torres, you kind of have this weird feeling down with him that you always kind of feel like he could have been more, and he should have been more. In 2008-10, he was in the peak of his career. He was an important figure for Liverpool and Spain, but he was respected, loved and adored. Despite winning the World Cup with Spain in the end, in the 2012 European Championships, he went on to win again, but his reputation changed dramatically. There was a Amazon documentary done about Fernando Torres back in 2020, highlighting his certain parts of his career. And one part of his career is one which no one really knew before that moment. And that is, it all kind of kicked off for him before the World Cup in a Europa League game at Anfield against Benfica. The turning point wasn't him joining Chelsea. It was an injury against Benfica after jumping up for a header, landing on his leg awkwardly, and feeling something click. Due to the adrenaline of what was on the line in that game in the Europa League quarter-final, he went on to play the rest of that game despite knowing that he was off. He remained on the pitch, he scored 2 goals in that game and sent Liverpool to the semi-finals. A surgery was planned for him in Barcelona, but due to at the time a volcanic eruption in Iceland, his flights were delayed. He still travelled late, got the surgery, and he was on the mend. One big problem: Spain play in the World Cup in only a few months' time, and they can actually go on to win it. His campaign that year would end against Atleti, and Liverpool went on to finish 7th place and with no Champions League football for the first time in 7 seasons. All Torres cared about was the World Cup and the national team. Torres would go on to play in that World Cup at certain stages, being subbed on or starting when absolutely necessary. He got subbed on in the final against Netherlands and was involved in the build-up play that led to Iniesta's famous World Cup winning goal. However, one thing that people forget is that he was injured before the game even ended in extra time, meaning that when Spain went on to win that final, he was inside the dressing room in tears. He knew what he did then was wrong. He knew that he was sacrificing potentially his ability to play the rest of his career in the way he wanted to, due to him needing to be in the World Cup and not wanting to miss out on that moment. And when that moment came, he was inside the dressing room in tears and in pain. He was world champion. He still made his nation proud, but it wasn't in the way that he wanted to be. Like, subscribe, and Mozilla Designs for the best football prints made by myself. We do have the Fernando Torres v Barcelona print, of course. Link down below, top description. Use code Torres for 15% off all items. And let's get into the video. And then came the moment that everyone remembers. 6 months later, Fernando Torres, El Nino, left Liverpool to go to Chelsea. In early 2011, he left Merseyside. At this stage, was pretty much damaged goods already. He missed 14 league games for Liverpool in 08-09, and the next year would also miss 16 further league games. These were typically small setbacks, however, built up over time. This was before he joined Chelsea. When he joins Chelsea, there of course the infamous open goal miss away at Manchester United, not just physically but emotionally damaged him. He was not the same player that he was, and had a British record summer fee on his head. Because he wasn't able to really put his full effort into training the way that he wanted to due to injury, or trying to avoid injury, it then came across as a lack of interest. He was never really part of any group at Chelsea, just felt like another name on a team sheet. This never really felt like to the likes of Jose Mourinho, as if he were fully committed to the cause. Torres wanted to go to Chelsea because he thought it would get him closer to what he wanted. This is because at Liverpool there was many financial problems. In 2008 there was communications between the likes of Mascherano, Xabi Alonso about wanting to improve the squad. Years later this never happened, and Fernando Torres felt like no one was really taking care of the club or the players and were going in the wrong direction. That's why he decided to go to Chelsea. And due to his injuries, he felt like he didn't have much longer left in his career. Because with all his time at Liverpool, 3.5 years of 81 goals, he was loved and adored by the Liverpool faithful. There was no success. There was no trophies. And at that stage, it was only going backwards. And in fairness to him, he wasn't really wrong. He went to Chelsea to win things. And in theory, he was right. He won the FA Cup, won the Europa League, he won the Champions League. This was the most successful period domestically in his career. However, it's the one that he looks back on with the most regret. Everyone looks back onto his goal against Barcelona as the moment where everything changed. And there is one important caveat, is that even if he never scored that goal, Chelsea still would have went through on away goals anyway. Of course, that part people don't need to remember. And there's one thing to keep in mind here, football is all about a sense of belonging, where if you feel like you're one with a club and you belong there, then you want to give everything for them. At Chelsea, he wasn't able to due to his injury, and keep in mind, his style of play at the stage was his physical element, was his pace, was his burst of acceleration to get out of tight corners. Of course, he had a bit more physicality in the air and that, he was quite a balanced striker in that regard, but without that extra turn of pace, or the fear mentally to really put your all into it out of fear of being injured again, that plays a massive factor. And he was never the same since that night against Benfica. At Atletico de Madrid and at Liverpool, he had a sense of belonging. And at Chelsea, he was just another player with no role. They wouldn't really care if he were there or not. Torres would get a happy ending. He ended up back to Atletico Madrid, his home, and 17 years after he scored his first goal at age 17 in the final game of the season, he scored 2 goals at the Cauldron. Diego Simeone wanted to bring El Nino back home, and it felt like a happy ending. But at Atleti, he was never able to be the player he felt like he wanted to be. His relationship with Liverpool fans was tarnished at the time. I think over time people have come to love him again in the same way that they used to, understanding the reasons why he had to leave, and potentially the fee that they got for Fernando Torres potentially could have been used to benefit them in the future. Kind of similar to how Coutinho left at Liverpool, and understanding that this maybe is what is necessary to move forward. Fernando Torres still, to me, is one of my first loves in football. I absolutely adore that goddamn hairband he used to always have every single game, his style of play. As I remember one of his first goals for Liverpool at Anfield, and there was this certain picture. I had a Liverpool shirt with Fernando Torres on the back of it. I'm a Burnley fan, but I just loved Fernando Torres. He's still doing well now. He's current manager of the Atletico Madrid B team. But for me, Fernando Torres would always be seen as a what if. Despite all the success that he's got, I still feel like more could have come. Remember, he was 3rd in the Ballon d'Or in 2008. He was, of course, 3rd in the FIFA World Player of the Year. So comment down below your thoughts on Fernando Torres and El Nino. How do you see his career? And if you're indeed a Liverpool fan or Chelsea fan, please comment down below how do you see him and his time at your club.